This LeetCode coding question is 1678. It's called Goal Parser Interpretation. So we basically have a sequence of characters. They are fixed. They can only be J right here, open and close parentheses. It can be open parentheses and something, and then close parentheses, or they can be together directly. And we also have open parentheses, the letters A and L, and then close parentheses. We basically need to use these and interpret them to print out a string. The G here, they give us the instructions. If I scroll down to the commands, they say the G, if ever we encounter a G in the string that they give us, we need to consider it as the capital letter, uppercase letter G. If we have open close parentheses directly connected to each other, it means the letter O, which is a lowercase o. And if we have A and L in between parentheses, it simply means A and L. So if you put these together, let's say we have G, then parentheses, and then A and L in between parentheses, it basically means G-O-A-L, and we print goal. So that's why the name of this LeetCode question is Goal Parser Interpretation. So to solve this, it's not difficult. It's actually quite straightforward. You can use different ways. I'm using a set of conditions. So at first, I want to have an index that I can control. Notice that I'm not using a normal for loop. I prefer to use a while loop. That is because these two letters here, the parentheses, correspond to one character. So if I encounter this sequence, I need to skip processing both at once and move to the next character in the sequence. So I want to be able to say, for example, I plus 2 so that I can jump 2 iterations at once, instead of processing sequentially, iteration by iteration. I want to be able to say let's say I'm here at this open parentheses. I want to be able to skip one index, a second index, and a third index, and then process the character afterward. So that's why I want to have my own I variable here that I can control in the while loop. Now I have this text variable. At first, it's empty, and I'm going to loop through my entire string. Now, the first thing that I want to check is, do I have the letter G, uppercase G, at the current iteration? If I do, I'm going to append G to my string here, my empty string that I'm calling text. If I do this, I'm done with this whole iteration because the rest here is inside of else if. So I can move I by 1, and then I move to the next iteration where I'm going to check again, do I have another G? If yes, I'm going to add it. I need to specify here that when I'm adding characters to my string, I'm not adding them at the beginning, right? I'm appending them, which is what we want. So if we see G, A something, I'm going to add them from left to right. So assuming that we don't say G again, we're going to move inside of this else if section. And I'm going to check first, do I have an open parenthesis? This is important because we only have 3 instructions here. We have 3 different kinds of inputs. One is J, which we are already considering right here. But the other 2 they both start with open parentheses. So I need to check which of them am I dealing with. At first, I check the character. Is it open parentheses? If yes, then I want to check if the next 2 characters, basically, what I'm processing and the character after that, if they form an open and close parenthesis. If yes, then it means that I need to add the letter O to my string. And once I do this, I can skip the next iteration. So I jump and I increment I by 2. Notice that here we were incrementing I by 1 because we're only dealing with a single letter. But here we saw 2 characters. The first one was the open brackets, open parentheses in the else if, and then we checked from I and then I plus 1. I'm saying I plus 1 because the end is not part of the range. It is excluded. So this will cover I and the next character after that, meaning that I'm processing 2 letters at once. That is why I is moving by 2 positions. Otherwise, if it wasn't open close parentheses, I need to check. It's most definitely open parentheses, A, L, and close parentheses, which means that it corresponds to A and L. So I can add that to my text, and then I move I by 4. Now again here, when I'm processing this sequence of letters starting from I use I plus 4 because I really want to process, this one is the first one, then 1, 2, 3, right? I plus 4 is not part of it. So once I'm done, I can return my text, which I've updated through my while loop. So that's the whole logic here for this coding challenge. Let's run the sample test cases. We pass all 3. So I'm just going to submit now. And we are done. Right, so again, whenever I give you solutions, you guys can think of ways to optimize what I'm giving you. And also keep in mind that what you see here, the runtime, the percentages, and so on, they are not fixed. If I submit this again, they might tell me that this time around, I beat 60% of solutions and so on. So don't worry too much about the runtime, milliseconds, and whatever that they give you. Think more of the solution design, the complexity analysis, which is the time complexity and auxiliary space, right? So in this case, we are processing commands in one shot. So it's from start to finish. Worst case scenario, if we get only J everywhere, I will move by 1 from start to finish. So this will be a linear algorithm, meaning it's the big O notation would be O of n. That's the whole solution. You guys can think of this. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, stay tuned. I have more LeetCode solutions in Python.